If you're on the market for a new C-suite role, you either want a promotion or you're looking to jump to another organization where you have more opportunities and new challenges, it's really important that you assess the C-suite and the C-suite dynamic. I'm Nunno. I'm a Vice President and Gartner Research Fellow. And today I'll share with you the results of a study that we completed on C-suite executive dynamics, trying to understand the qualities and characteristics of high-performing executive teams who deliver more business growth and greater business results. I'll focus on a few key components. First, how to identify a great CEO who leads that executive team. Second, how to analyze the team dynamic among the different members of that C-suite. And then third, how to maximize your influence in that executive team and what to look for to make sure that this is the best place for you. The CEO is by far the greatest indicator of the effectiveness and success of a senior executive team. They call the shots, they set the tone, they determine the dynamic. So when you're looking and interviewing with a new CEO, it's really important that you analyze and ask questions about critical elements of that CEO's approach and style. First and foremost, what is the CEO's personality? Are they open? Are they transparent? Or do they tend to be more closed off and more secretive? In the research that we did, we found that high performance was much more correlated with CEOs who had positive personality traits. High performance being organizations that are more profitable, more successful. They deliver better business results. In the market, there's often a lot of hype around these more controversial, more difficult CEOs. But our research shows that there's a very strong correlation between positive personality traits and a high-functioning executive team. The second thing you want to look for is what is the decision style of that CEO? Ask them, how do you make decisions? How do you work with the rest of the executive team to make decisions? Healthy executive teams have tools, frameworks, but most importantly, they focus on data. Our data was very clear that in high-performing executive teams, they are committed to data. They require each and every member of the executive team, no matter how long they've been there, to prove their points, to show the business case, to be committed to a high standard of data. And as a result, they make higher quality decisions. Third is how do they think about and manage business performance? Not all CEOs view performance management the same way. It's important to ask the question, how do you think about this as a CEO? Some CEOs will say, well, performance management is much more the role of my C-suite, so I delegate it to them. Look for the CEO who best fits your style and is most connected to the style of leadership where you can perform your best. But the single biggest decision you can make when choosing a new senior executive role is the CEO that you want to work for. The second important thing that you want to look for is what is the dynamic between that CEO and the rest of the C-suite and executive team. In lower functioning executive teams, they're much more likely to feel as though they have to hold something back or they have to fit into a mold rather than being their genuine selves. Incredibly importantly is this concept of psychological safety. They're under a tremendous amount of pressure. How they deal with that pressure is incredibly important. And high-performing senior executives feel psychologically safe. They can say the tough things, they can be themselves, they can challenge everyone in the group, and they know that that will simply make the decisions and the group better as a team. One of the other important dynamics you're going to want to assess as quickly as possible is how does the executive team make decisions and, very importantly, resolve conflict. I've already spoken a little bit about the importance of data, that healthy C-suite organizations rely on data much more heavily than low-performing executive teams. What also matters is whether or not they use methodology, frameworks, discipline. High-performing teams are much more likely to use frameworks that drive very specifically at a couple of themes. Number one, business value. They're very committed to trying to understand that elusive metric of business value. How will this initiative that we're considering as a team help us make money, save money, or manage an enterprise risk? And they're rigorous about the data that helps them get to that decision. So they use healthy frameworks and they're quite rigorous about it. When there's a conflict, they have healthier approaches. They're much more likely to consult with one another. They're much more likely to resolve conflicts. Not surprisingly, in lower performing executive teams, they were much more likely to resolve conflict in one of two ways. One, either the CEO made the decision themselves and was the deal breaker. Now, while that might sound like leadership, there's a correlation between CEOs making too many decisions and lower performance. Often this means that either the CEO might be a little bit controlling, or the executive team might be a little bit immature. And as a result, the CEO is actually compensating for an executive team that is building its skill set. So it's important to really analyze where are the decisions getting made and how are they getting made so that you can be a strong player in that mix. So look for an executive team which has a great CEO, who has a strong balance between personality and performance. Look for strong relationships among the members of the executive team, but ensure that there's a balance between focusing on performance always rather than highly political relationships. When you've got both relationship and performance, you'll have a phenomenal place to work. Visit Gartner.com for an action plan to help you get a fast start in your new role.